The 1903 World Series was the first modern World Series to be played in Major League Baseball. It matched the Boston Americans of the American League against the Pittsburgh Pirates of the National League in a best-of-9 series, with Boston prevailing 5-3, winning the last 4. Pittsburgh pitcher Sam Leever injured his shoulder while trap shooting, so his teammate Deacon Phillippe pitched 5 complete games. Phillippe won 3 of his games, but it was not enough to overcome the club from the new American League. Boston pitchers Bill Dinneen and Cy Young led Boston to victory. In Game 1, Phillippe set a World Series record by striking out 10 Boston batters. That record lasted barely 1 day, as Dinneen struck out 11 Pittsburgh batters in Game 2. Honus Wagner, bothered by injuries, batted only 6 for 27 in the series and committed 6 errors. The shortstop was deeply distraught by his performance. The following spring, Wagner refused to send his portrait to a Hall of Fame for batting champions. "I was too bum last year," he wrote. "I was a joke in that Boston-Pittsburgh series. What does it profit a man to hammer along and make a few hits when they are not needed only to fall down when it comes to a pinch? I would be ashamed to have my picture up now." Due to overflow crowds at the Exposition Park games in Allegheny City, if a batted ball rolled under a rope in the outfield that held spectators back, a ground rule triple would be scored. 17 ground rule triples were hit in the 4 games played at the stadium. In the series, Boston came back from a 3-1 deficit, winning the final 4 games to capture the title. Such a large comeback would not happen again until the Pirates came back to defeat the Washington Senators in the 1925 World Series, and has happened only 10 times in baseball history. Much was made of the influence of Boston's Royal Rooters, who traveled to Exposition Park and sang their theme song Tessie to distract the opposing players. Boston wound up winning 3 out of 4 games in Allegheny City. Pirates owner Barney Dreyfuss added his share of the gate receipts to the players' share, so the losing team's players actually finished with a larger individual share than the winning teams. The series brought the new American League prestige and proved its best could beat the best of the National League, thus strengthening the demand for future World Series competitions. Background. A new league equals, in 1901, Van Johnson, president of the Western League, a minor league organization, formed the American League to take advantage of the National League's 1900 contraction from 12 teams to 8. Johnson and fellow owners raided the National League and signed away many star players, including Cy Young and Jimmy Collins. Johnson had a list of 46 National Leaguers he targeted for the American League. By 1902, all but one had made the jump. The constant raiding, however, scotched the idea of a championship between the two leagues. Pirates owner Barney Dreyfuss, whose team ran away with the 1902 National League pennant, was open to a postseason contest and even said he would allow the American League champion to stock its roster with all-stars. However, Johnson had spoken of putting a team in Pittsburgh and even attempted to raid the Pirates roster in August 1902, which soured Dreyfuss. At the end of the season, however, the Pirates played a group of American League All-Stars in a 4-game exhibition series, winning 2-1, with 1 tie. The leagues finally called a truce in the winter of 1902-03 and formed the National Commission to preside over organized baseball. The following season, the Boston Americans and Pittsburgh Pirates had secured their respective championship pennants by September. That August, Dreyfuss challenged the American League to an 11-game championship series. Encouraged by Johnson and National League President Harry Pulliam, Americans owner Henry J. Killilia met with Dreyfuss in Pittsburgh in September and instead agreed to a best-of-9 championship, with the first 3 games played in Boston, your next 4 in Allegheny City, and the remaining 2 in Boston. One significant point about this agreement was that it was an arrangement primarily between the two clubs rather than a formal arrangement between the leagues. In short, it was a voluntary event, a fact which would result in no series at all for 1904. The formal establishment of the series as a compulsory event started in 1905. The teams. The Pirates won their 3rd straight pennant in 1903 thanks to a powerful lineup that included legendary shortstop Honus Wagner, who hit .355 and drove in 101 runs, player-manager Fred Clarke, who hit .351, and Ginger Beaumont, who hit .341 and led the league in hits and runs. The Pirates' pitching was weaker than it had been in previous years but boasted 24-game winner Deacon Phillippe and 25-game winner Sam Leever. The Americans had a strong pitching staff, led by Cy Young, who went 28-9 in 1903 and became the all-time wins leader that year. Bill Dinneen and long Tom Hughes, right-handers like Young, had won 21 games and 20 games each. The Boston outfield, featuring Chick Stahl, Buck Freeman and Patsy Dougherty, was considered excellent. Although the Pirates had dominated their league for the previous 3 years, they went into the series riddled with injuries and plagued by bizarre misfortunes. Otto Kruger, the team's only utility player, was binned on September 19 and never fully played in the series. 16-game winner Ed Doheny left the team 3 days later, exhibiting signs of paranoia. He was committed to an insane asylum the following month. Leever had been battling an injury to his pitching arm. Worst of all, Wagner, who had a sore thumb throughout the season, injured his right leg in September and was never 100% for the postseason. Some sources say Boston were heavy underdogs. Boston bookies actually gave even odds to the teams. The teams were generally thought to be evenly matched, with the Americans credited with stronger pitching and the Pirates with superior offense and fielding. The outcome, many believed, hinged on Wagner's health. "If Wagner does not play, bet your money at 2-1 on Boston," said the Sporting News, "but if he does play, place your money at 2-1 on Pittsburgh." Summary: AL Boston Americans vs NL Pittsburgh Pirates. Matchups. Game 1 Thursday, October 1, 1903 at Huntington Avenue Baseball Grounds in Boston, Massachusetts. The Pirates started Game 1 strong, scoring 6 runs in the first 4 innings. They extended their lead to 7-0 on a solo home run by Jimmy Sebring in the 7th, the first home run in World Series history. Boston tried to mount a comeback in the last 3 innings, but it was too little too late, and they ended up losing by a score of 7-3 in the first ever World Series game. Both Phillippe and Young threw complete games, with Phillippe striking out 10 and Young fanning 5, but Young also gave up twice as many hits and allowed 3 earned runs to Phillippe's 2. Game 2 Friday, October 2, 1903 at Huntington Avenue Baseball Grounds in Boston, Massachusetts. After starting out strong in Game 1, the Pirates simply shut down offensively, eking out a mere 3 hits, all singles. Pittsburgh starter Sam Leever went 1 inning and gave up 3 hits and 2 runs, before his ailing arm forced him to leave in favor of Bucky Vail, who finished the game. Bill Dinneen struck out 11 and pitched a complete game for the Americans, while Patsy Dougherty hit home runs in the first and 6th innings for 2 of the Boston's 3 runs. Game 3 Saturday, October 3, 1903 at Huntington Avenue Baseball Grounds in Boston, Massachusetts. Phillippe, pitching after only a single day of rest, started Game 3 for the Pirates and didn't let them down, hurling his second complete game victory of the series to put Pittsburgh up 2-1. Game 4 Tuesday, October 6, 1903 at Exposition Park in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. After 2 days of rest, Phillippe was ready to pitch a second straight game. He threw his third complete game victory of the series against Bill Dinneen, who was making his second start of the series. But Phillippe's second straight win was almost not to be, as the Americans, down 5-1 in the top of the 9th, rallied to narrow the deficit to 1 run. The comeback attempt failed, as Phillippe managed to put an end to it and give the Pirates a commanding 3-1 series lead. Game 5 Wednesday, October 7, 1903 at Exposition Park in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. Game 5 was a pitcher's duel for the first 5 innings, with Boston's Cy Young and Pittsburgh's Brickyard Kennedy giving up no runs. That changed in the top of the 6th, however, when the Americans scored a then record 6 runs before being retired. Young, on the other hand, managed to keep his shutout intact before finally giving up a pair of runs in the bottom of the 8th. He went the distance and struck out 4 for his first World Series win. Game 6 Thursday, October 8, 1903 at Exposition Park in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. Game 6 was a rematch between the starters of Game 2, Boston's Dinneen and Pittsburgh's Leever. Leever pitched a complete game this time, but so did Dinneen, who outmatched him to earn his second complete game victory of the series. After losing 3 of the first 4 games of the World Series, the underdog Americans had tied the series at 3 games apiece. Game 7 Saturday, October 10, 1903 at Exposition Park in Allegheny, Pennsylvania. The fourth and final game in Allegheny saw Phillippe start his 4th game of the series for the Pirates. This time, however, he wouldn't fare as well as he did in his first 3 starts. Cy Young, in his 3rd start of the series, held the Pirates to 3 runs and put the Americans ahead for the first time as the series moved back to Boston. Game 8 Tuesday, October 13, 1903 at Huntington Avenue Baseball Grounds in Boston, Massachusetts. The final game of this inaugural World Series started out as an intense pitcher's duel, scoreless until the bottom of the 4th when Hope Ferris hit a 2-run single. Phillippe started his 5th and final game of the series and Dinneen his 4th. As he did in Game 2, Dinneen threw a complete game shutout, striking out 7 and leading his Americans to victory, while Phillippe pitched respectably but just couldn't match Dinneen because his arm had been worn out with 5 starts in the 8 games, giving up 3 runs to give the first 20th Century World Championship to the Boston Americans, Honus Wagner striking out to end the series. Composite line score, 1903 World Series, Boston Americans over Pittsburgh Pirates. Series statistics. Boston Americans equals. Batting, note, GP equals games played. AB equals at-bats. H equals hits. Average equals batting average. HR equals home runs. RBI equals runs batted in. References. Further reading, Abrams, Roger L. The First World Series and the Baseball Fanatics of 1903. Boston, Northeastern University Press. ISBN 1-55553-644-1. Anderson, Shelley. Pirates, Red Sox face off for first time in the century. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Retrieved December 14, 2009. Anderson, Shelley. Pirates see Young found old magic as Boston rallied to win title. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Retrieved December 14, 2009. Cohen, Richard M. Neft, David S. The World Series, complete play-by-play of every game, 1903–1989. New York, St. Martin's Press pages 3–8. ISBN 0-312-03960-3. Mazur, Louis P. Autumn Glory, Baseball's First World Series. New York, Hill and Wang. ISBN 0-8090-2763-1. Raichler, Joseph. The Baseball Encyclopedia. Macmillan Publishing. Pages 2112. ISBN 0-02-579010-2. External links, 1903 World Series at worldseries.com, 1903 World Series at Baseball Almanac, 1903 World Series at baseball-reference.com, the 1903 postseason games at Retrosheet, History of the World Series, 1903 at The Sporting News. Archived from the original on 2008.